All right, let's get right into it. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi just wrapped up this rolling diplomatic tour across three really interesting nations. So, we're going to break down what happened, why it actually matters, and what it tells us about India's big picture strategy on the world stage. And that brings us to the big question, right? Was this just a routine diplomatic trip? Shaking hands and signing papers. Or are we looking at a much more calculated strategic play on the global chessboard? That's really the core question we're going to unpack today. Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll cover the basics of the tour itself. Then we'll dig into the actual deals that were made. After that, we'll zoom out and connect the dots to India's grand strategy, look at a pretty tricky challenge they're facing, and wrap it all up with what this means for the future. All right, let's kick things off with the basics. Section 1, the three-nation diplomatic tour. We're talking about a whirlwind week in the Middle East and Africa. So where did Modi actually go? So the tour hit Jordan, Ethiopia, and Oman. Now, you might look at that list and think, that seems like a pretty random mix of countries. But, and this is the key thing, it was anything but random. Each of these stops is a carefully chosen piece of a much, much larger puzzle. They're all connected.
Okay, moving on. Because let's be real, diplomacy isn't just about photo ops, it's about getting things done. So let's look at the details. Beyond the handshakes, what was actually achieved?
And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the range of these deals. With Oman, it was all about the economy, signing a big partnership agreement that's basically a stepping stone to a huge free trade deal with the entire Gulf Cooperation Council, the GCC. Then you have Jordan, where the focus was on super practical stuff, renewable energy and water management. And with Ethiopia, they launched this whole new strategic partnership that covers everything from trade to tech. And to put some numbers on this, just look at Oman. The trade between India and Oman has doubled recently to $10 billion. That's a huge number, and it really shows you the kind of economic power and momentum India's building up in this part of the world. Okay, so this is where we start connecting the dots. These visits, these deals, they aren't just separate events happening in a vacuum. There's a common thread tying them all together, and it's all about India's ambition to be a leader of what's known as the Global South. So what exactly is the Global South? You've probably been hearing this term a lot lately, and it's not just about geography, not just countries in the Southern Hemisphere. It's really a political term for a group of nations, many in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, that share a history, often of colonialism, and, more importantly, a desire to have a bigger say in how the world is run. They're trying to reshape a global system they feel has been dominated by the West for a long, long time. So when you think about it through that lens, the choice of these three countries makes perfect sense. I mean, look at Ethiopia. It's not just any country in Africa. It's the headquarters of the African Union and a brand new member of the BRICS bloc. Oman? It's the key to unlocking that massive trade deal with all the powerful Gulf countries. And Jordan is a really crucial voice in the middle of all the conflict and politics happening in West Asia. Each one is a strategic linchpin. But, of course, it's not that simple. It's not all smooth sailing. This whole strategy comes with a massive challenge. And that challenge is navigating the incredibly complicated, tangled politics of West Asia. Which is why this idea of walking a diplomatic tightrope is so perfect here. Right now, India is trying to do something incredibly difficult. Keep its strong friendships with both Israel and its Arab neighbors. And with the current conflict, that's become a nearly impossible balancing act. So how on earth are they trying to pull this off? Well, it's this fascinating two-pronged approach. You have Prime Minister Modi visiting Jordan, publicly reiterating India's support for the Palestinian cause, and at pretty much the same time, India's external affairs minister is in Israel, meeting with Netanyahu's government. It's a very deliberate strategy to talk to both sides, to try and keep everyone on board. And the language they're using is really, really important here. This isn't some wishy-washy diplomatic statement. The joint statement with Oman explicitly calls for the, and I'm quoting here, establishment of a sovereign and independent Palestinian state. That is a very strong, very public signal to its partners in the Arab world. And this balancing act has huge, real-world consequences. I mean, think about that massive project, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. It was supposed to be this game-changing trade route. Well, because of all the regional tensions, that whole ambitious plan is now in serious jeopardy. A major part of India's economic future is at risk. So we've looked at the tour, the deals, the grand strategy, and the massive challenges. What's the bottom line? Where does this leave India as it looks to the future? It all boils down to this one final massive question. As the world's alliances are shifting and old lines are being redrawn, India is making a big bet. It's betting on a strategy of friendship with all, trying to be a bridge between opposing sides. And so the real question is, can that approach actually work? Can it help build a new kind of world order? Or, when push comes to shove, will the pressures just become too great, forcing India to finally choose a side?